Overruled.
Do you recall what it was that Mr. Okafor told you or asked you to do that night?
He's just worried about his case.
He was worried about his case?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ask you to do something?
He asked me to get some things for him.
And what did he ask you to get for him?
Hoodie and some gloves.
A hoodie and some gloves?
Yes.
Okay. And did he say he needed it that night?
He said he needed it.
Yes?
He said he needed it.
Needed it that night?
Yeah.
Do you know why he asked you to get the stuff rather than getting himself?
I wasn't too sure, but I'm guessing because he was on house arrest.
Okay, you knew he was on house arrest
Yes.
and might not be so easy for him to just go out and get stuff himself. Is that right?
I'm guessing that was the
Okay.
reason.
So he asked you to get him a hoodie and gloves. Did you, in fact, get the hoodies, hoodie
No.
and gloves? Why not?
Just didn't know why I need them. Just went to Keon, just going out and getting it.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Just didn't know why he needed. Just didn't go.
Now, you said he said he was nervous about his case?
Yes.
Overruled.
Was there any discussion about the trial being the next day?
Not much.
There was some discussion about the trial being the next day?
Yeah, just that he was worried. Everybody looked like they was gonna show up or whatever the case is. He was worried about going to jail again. That's how much.
He was worried about the witnesses showing up for the trial?
Yeah, him going to jail again.
All right. Did he tell you anything about how the witnesses had come to a pretrial?
I think so. I'm not too sure, but I
Okay.
knew that it was coming.
Did he tell you anything about how he thought the witnesses were going to come to trial?
Yeah, I think they was coming.
Okay. And he said he was nervous about that.
Yes.
Restate the leading question.
Did he say he was nervous about that, about the witnesses
Yes.
coming to trial?
Overruled.
Do you recall him making a statement about he can't let them come to trial?
Sustained. Restate your question.
What else did he tell you about being nervous about them coming to trial?
Just that he was nervous. He hoped they didn't show up.
Did he say anything else aside from, I hope they don't show up?
I can't let them show up.
I can't let them show up?
Yeah,
That's what he told you when you went over there that night?
that I can recall.
I'm sorry?
That I can recall.
Okay. Well, you remember giving an interview to Detective Mareshi back in December 5th of 2012.
Yeah, I had an interview.
And did you tell the truth in that interview?
Yes.
And you made that statement in that interview, that I can't let them make it to trial. Is that right?
That sounds about right.
And that's what he said to you that night?
Yes.
Now, you originally, the police wanted to speak to you back in October. They had a little interview then. Were you totally honest and upfront in that first interview?
A little.
A little, but not completely?
Yes.
And why were you not completely upfront?
Didn't want to be involved.
Okay, and because Mr. Okafor was a friend of yours?
Yes.
All right. Eventually, they spoke to you again in December, right?
Yes, because they get arrested me.
Okay, and you got arrested for not telling them the truth the first time, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you spoke to him again with your lawyer, right?
Yes.
And that was the December interview.
Yes.
And that's the one where you told the truth.
Yes.
And that's the one where you said that he said, I can't let the witnesses come to trial.
Yes.
And that was the truth.
Yes.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. McLaren.
Good morning.
Ms. McLaren, you testified that you know Mr. Okafor for some time, right?
Yes.
And so you've been friends with him?
Yes.
Right. And you visited him at his home?
Yes.
Okay. And when law enforcement first contacted you, you gave them a statement, correct?
Yes.
And you told them that you didn't know anything about this case,
Yes.
right? And then they arrested you, right?
Yes.
And they charged you with a crime, didn't they?
Yes.
And they threatened you that if you didn't tell them what they wanted to hear, that you would be charged and sentenced, right?
Yes.
And then you came back and changed your story.
Correct.
You wanted to tell them whatever you had to tell them, right? To avoid being sentenced.
Not so much. No.
So you weren't afraid to go to jail?
Yes, I was ready to go to jail.
Okay. So you changed your story to avoid being sent to jail.
If you want to put it that way, yes.
Did you buy any gloves?
No.
Did you bring Mr. Okafor any gloves?
No.
Did you buy Mr. Okafor anything?
No.
Do you know what happened at 503 Bernardino Drive?
No.
Have you ever been to that address?
No.
After you made this statement, did your case get dropped?
Yes.
Have a moment, Your Honor.
You may. Redirect. Mr. McLaren, you admit in that first interview in October you were not completely truthful, right?
Yes.
And in that interview you told him you couldn't remember what it was that Mr. Okafor asked you to get.
Correct.
But that was a lie, right?
Correct.
And at that time, during that interview, you did remember what he asked you to get, which was the hoodie and gloves, right?
Correct.
Did anybody tell you before the second interview you had to tell the police what they wanted to hear, or did they just tell you you needed to tell the truth to the police?
They told me that I need to tell the truth, and the police was looking for specifics.
Okay, so you were told to tell the truth to the police.
Yes.
Not to lie to the police.
No.
And in that second interview, you told the truth to the police.
Yes.
Overruled.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Redirect? I mean, recross? On what? On an item that was just covered, you may. You may not deviate from the item that was just covered. Go ahead.
Mr. McLaren, you just stated that the officers told you what they needed and specifics. Is that correct?
Yes.
So they told you what they wanted you to say.
They said they was looking for something like a hoodie or something.
Right. So they told you that they needed you to testify about some hoodies.
Not testify. They was asking, was he asking me to get something like a hoodie or something?
And so they told you what they wanted.
You can say.
That's correct.
Follow up on that?
You may.
Mr. McLaren, you know there's a transcript of that
Yes.
interview. There's a tape recording of that interview. Is there anywhere in that transcript of that tape recording, and your lawyer was present as well in that interview, correct?
Yes.
And do they tell you in that interview, we
Not in
want
that
you to
interview.
say about hoodie and gloves?
No.
Nobody told you that, right?
No.
So
Not
the
in that
only
interview.
thing you were told in the beginning of that interview was
Legal objection only. The legal objection is leading. It is follow-up on what you asked him before. He's indicating what you told him before he's prefacing his question. Overruled.
Is this correct or incorrect? When you were sworn in to tell the truth in that second interview on December 5th, 2012, you were asked to tell the truth.
Yes.
Did anybody tell you, here's what we want you to say? We want you to say something about hoodie and gloves. We want you to say anything in particular. They just asked you questions and you answered. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Nobody told you to say anything in particular, simply to tell the truth.
Yes.
And you did tell the truth in that interview.
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Sir, you may step down. Thank you very much. Please be careful of that step. It's very steep behind you. Who will be your next witness?
Sharia Gordon.
Sharia Gordon. Dave, she's going to need some help on the stairs. She's going to need some help coming up the stairs. Okay, good. Wait, hang on just a minute. Let's see if we can adjust that microphone while the deputy's there.
Hello.
Would you raise your right hand, ma'am, please? Thank you, ma'am. I know it's difficult. I need you to lean into that microphone. You're very soft-spoken, so you want to be close to it so everybody can hear you, okay? Would you tell us your full name and spell your first name and your last name, please?
Sharia Gordon, Sherria. Gordon, Gordon.
Thank you, and that's a pretty good microphone as well. Okay. Please proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Gordon.
Good morning.
Where do you reside at this time?
At the Orange County Jail.
Do you remember when you got arrested?
Yes, sir.
What day was that?
November the 13th, 2012.
And you've been in jail ever since?
Yes, sir.
When you were arrested, were you pregnant?
Yes, sir.
And did you give birth?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what date that was?
December 17th, 2012.
So you were an inmate at the jail when you gave birth.
Yes, sir.
Who was the father of that child?
Bessman Okafor.
And who's taking care of your baby right now?
My mother.
And you see her here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Have you had another child with Mr. Okafor before that?
Yes, sir.
And how old is that child today?
9.
So back in 2012 or September 2012, that child would have been about 6, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you've known Mr. Okafor for several years.
Yes, sir.
Back in September of 2012, where were you living then? Do you remember the address?
Can you repeat that again,
Do
please?
you remember the address you were living at back in September of 2012?
Yes, sir. I was living with my mother.
And what address was that?
1219 West Cypress Street.
In Orlando.
Yes, sir.
Did you have a phone back then, a cell phone?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember today what that cell phone number was?
No, sir.
Do you remember being interviewed by Detective Mareshi back in October of 2012, and you were asked at that time what your cell phone number was?
Yes, sir.
Did you know what it was back then?
Yes, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a transcript of that interview to refresh your recollection as to what your phone number was?
Yes, sir.
And let me show you, this is discovery page 1149.
Right.
Does that ring a bell? Does that look right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what was your phone number back then?
407-712-5818.
Were you aware back in September of 2012 that Mr. Okafor had bonded out of jail and was on home confinement?
Yes, sir.
And did you know, and where did he live?
At Takithia's house.
And who's Takithia to him?
His sister,
Do you know her last name?
Ruffin.
All right. Do you remember the address over there at his house?
Not off the top of my head.
I told you it was on St. James Road. Does that seem about right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you knew his case was coming up to trial?
Yes, sir.
And you knew he was on home confinement also?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, the night of September 9th, September 10th of 2012, where were you going to sleep that night? When you went to bed, where was it?
At my house.
At your house on Cypress,
Yes, sir.
where you lived with your mother.
Yes, sir.
And your kids were living with you at that house?
Yes, sir.
And you were several months pregnant at that time.
Yes, sir.
Did something happen that night? Did you receive a phone call from anybody?
Yes, sir.
And who was that from?
Bessman Okafor.
And do you recall about what time it was that you received that phone call?
It was early in the morning.
When we say early in the morning, do we mean it was still dark out, like the wee
Yes,
hours of
sir.
the morning? Okay, you know what time, or you don't really know?
Not really, no.
Okay,
But I
it
know
was
it's-
after midnight before the
Yeah.
sun came up.
Yes, sir.
And so he called you,
Yes, sir.
and what did he say in that phone call?
Get ready. I'm going to pick you up.
All right. Did you do that?
Yes, sir.
And did he then, he said he was coming to pick you up.
Yes, sir.
Did he come to pick you up?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what car he was driving?
To keep his car.
Do you remember anything about that car?
It is
What-
a white,
I told you it was a Malibu, does that sound right?
yes, sir. If I see it, I know
You
it.
see it?
Yes,
So,
sir.
hold on, just a second, there's an objection. Overruled.
Yes, sir.
Is that Takithia's car?
Yes, sir.
That's the car that Mr. Okafor was driving when he picked you up.
Yes, sir.
When he came to your house, what happened?
Well, when he came, I got in the car, me and my girls, and then we went to Takithia's house.
Okay, the kids were asleep?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So they slept through this whole thing pretty much?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you took them and you put them into Takithia's car, Mr. Okafor was driving,
Yes, sir.
and took them to where?
To Takithia's house.
And what happened when you got to Takithia's house?
I put them in the bed in one of the rooms, and then Okafor, Bessman, told me to come with him.
Now, there were adults, I guess, in Takithia's house?
Yes, sir.
Was anybody awake as far as you knew?
No, sir.
But you thought the kids would be safe, obviously, in that house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then Bessman said what?
And he said, come and ride with me.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes, sir.
At that time, did you know what he wanted?
No, sir.
Did you ask him what he wanted?
No, sir.
You just went along with him.
Yes, sir.
So you get back, what, in the passenger seat of Takithia's car?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Okafor's driving?
Yes, sir.
And where do you go?
We go to Nestle's house.
Now, who's Nestle's house? Do you know his last name or anything?
Seriously.
I'm sorry? You're not sure what his last name is?
No.
Okay. You know him as Nestle?
I know it's Nestle.
And who is he to anybody? Is he a friend?
Yes, sir.
Is he a friend of Mr. Okafor's?
Yes, sir.
And how far away did he live from Okafor's house? About?
Probably about 5 minutes.
All right, so it's a short drive then to go to his house.
Yes, sir.
Did you know that's where you were going, or did you just find out after you got there?
Found out after I got there.
So he's driving, you don't know where, but you go to Nestle's house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happens when you get to Nestle's house?
He goes and knock on the door, and Nestle comes out. Nestle jumps in another car.
You said Nestle
She just
jumps
didn't
in
hear
another-
you. She didn't hear you.
Okay. I said, he goes and knocks on the door. Nestle comes out, and Nestle jumps in another car.
Do you remember what this car looked like?
It was white.
Okay. So now Nestle's driving in this other white car.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else in any of these cars at this time? It's just you and Bessman in one car and Nestle in the other?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then what happens?
And then we go to a gas station.
Do you remember how it happened or whose idea it was to go to a gas station or why you went to a gas station?
Well, of course, to get some
Okay,
gas.
I mean, did you remember anybody saying anything about needing gas or?
No, sir.
Okay, but in any event, you guys go Both cars go to this gas station?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember where that gas station was?
It was on Silver Star.
Do you remember what, so you had to drive up to Silver Star.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember which, when you got to Silver Star, did you have to make a turn to go right or left?
Yes, sir.
Which way did you turn, do you recall?
We had turned, to get on Silver Star, we made a left turn.
Okay. Do you know what direction you're going at that time?
Yes, sir. Had to Sequoia.
Okay, out towards Ocoee.
Yes, sir.
So you get to the Marathon gas station. What happened? Or to the gas station. What happened then?
Well, then Bessman told me to go and get, take the money and go and
I'm sorry. Could you? I can't really hear you.
I said, Bessman told me to go in there and pay for the gas.
Okay, go into like a little store.
Mm-hmm.
And did you do that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now both cars are in the gas station, right?
Yes, sir.
So did you go in the store and pay for the gas?
Yes, sir.
And then what happened?
And then I got back. They pumped the gas. And then both of the cars started heading out to a route.
Okay, so did you get back then where you were before on the same passenger seat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So both cars got gas, and then you kept going, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen photographs from the gas station, have you not?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you State's Exhibit E. And why don't you take a look at these photographs? Okay, I know you're handcuffed there. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the time that you were at that gas station?
Yes, sir.
And there's a photograph of a woman in the store, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
So after you get gas, what happens then?
We begin to drive to an abandoned house.
Okay, so do you stay on Silver Star for a while?
Yes, sir.
And you go in, you say out towards Ocoee.
Yes, sir.
And where do you go?
To an abandoned
An
house.
abandoned house?
Yes, sir.
And why do you call it an abandoned house?
Where they had no lights on. It seemed like nobody was there, so
Okay, just seemed like nobody was living there.
yes, sir.
So both cars come to the abandoned house?
Yes, sir.
And what happens at the abandoned house?
Then we wait, and then another car pulled up.
All right, so another car pulls up, and
Yes, sir.
you recognize that car.
Yes, sir.
And how do you recognize that car?
Because I always see it. It's one.
You know whose car that is?
Yes, sir.
Whose car is that?
Kansas car.
Candace?
Yes, sir.
You know her last name?
Griffin.
And is she related to Mr. Okafor?
Yes, sir.
What's the relation?
Sister.
So this is another sister of Mr. Okafor's, Candace Rupp.
Yes, sir.
And do you remember anything about that car? What kind of car? What it looks like?
Impala.
Power? What color?
White.
Is there anything distinctive about that car?
The tires.
What about the tires?
It doesn't have no hubcap.
Missing hubcaps?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me show you evidence of States Exhibit 17. Show you these photographs.
Yes, sir.
You recognize that car?
Yes, sir.
Is that Candace's car that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
So now there are 3 cars at the abandoned house.
Yes, sir.
There's Nestle's car, there's the Malibu, and now there's Candace's Impala.
Yes, sir.
And can you see who's with the Impala?
It was Emmanuel and then another person.
Okay. Now, Emmanuel, did you know who Emmanuel was? I mean, did you seen him?
Yes.
And who was he?
A homeboy.
Sorry?
He was a homeboy.
A homeboy? Was he a friend of Mr. Okafor's?
Yes, sir.
And could you describe generally what he looked like?
Yes, sir.
What did he look like?
Tall, skinny, have dreads.
Long dreads?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me show you the photographs, States Exhibit AN for identification.
Is that order?
Yes, sir.
Is that Emmanuel Wallace?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you previously identified Mr. Wallace, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you say there was another person in that Impala?
Yes, sir.
You know, I've never seen that other person before.
No, sir.
Did you hear anybody mention his name?
Yes, sir.
What name?
Darnell.
Darnell?
Yes, sir.
Could you describe generally what his appearance was? In terms of his build, anything about his build?
Yes, like muscular a little bit, brown skin.
You previously identified him as well.
Yes, sir.
Let me show you some photographs, States Exhibit AL for identification.
Yes, sir.
That's that person, Darnell.
Yes, sir.
What number is that? I'm sorry, this is AL. All right, so now you're at the abandoned house. There are the 3 cars. There's you, there's Okafor, there's Nestle, there's Emmanuel, there's Donnell.
Yes, sir.
What happens then?
Bessman gets out. He tells me to go down and pass a couple of lights and park on the side of the road and wait for sirens. And he gets in the car. He gets in Kansas' car.
Okay, so now you said you were originally a passenger in the Malibu.
Right.
So he tells you now to drive the Malibu?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you get into the driver's seat.
Yes, sir.
And he tells you to do what?
Go down a couple of lights and pull on the side of the road and listen out for sirens. And if you
The
hear,
sirens?
yes, sir.
Okay. You had your cell phone with you?
Yes, sir.
And were you supposed to do anything if you heard sirens? Or
Yes, sir.
Did he tell you to do anything aside from listening for sirens?
Yes, sir.
What did he tell you to do?
Call.
To call him?
Yes, sir.
He had his cell phone with him.
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you know at this point, did he tell you what this was all about?
No, sir.
Did you have an idea what this was all about?
No, sir.
Did you think it was something illegal?
Yes, sir.
Did you think it had something to do with his case?
No, sir.
You didn't?
No, sir.
You just thought it was something illegal, but you didn't ask.
Yes, sir.
All right. So he tells you to go through a couple of lights and wait by the side of the road.
Yes, sir.
Did you do that?
Yes, sir.
When you started going out to go a couple of lights, what happened to the other cars?
They passed by.
They came behind you?
Yes, sir.
So when you pulled over the side of the road, did you see those cars come by?
Yes, sir.
All right, you were the first one, though.
Yes, sir.
All right. And when you were going through a couple of lights, did you know what direction you were going?
Yes, sir.
And what direction were you going?
Okay.
Towards Ocoee.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going west, do you know, or are you not familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but towards Ocoee.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through a couple of lights and you do wait by the side of the road?
Yes, sir.
Now this is nighttime still?
Yes, sir.
Still dark?
Yes, sir.
You see the other cars come by. Do you recall, do you know which car came first after you?
I don't recall.
Okay, that's fine. But both cars do come.
Yes, sir.
Do you see where they go?
No, sir.
I mean, do they keep going
Yes,
in that
sir.
direction? And did you see if they stayed on that road or they made a turn or what happened?
No, sir, but I know they did keep going.
Okay, I mean, they kept going and then you lost sight of them.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you're now sitting by the side of the road at nighttime, right?
Yes, sir.
At some point, did you make a phone call to Mr. Okafor?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember about how long after you pulled over this was? About?
At least probably 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. And at some point, you do make a phone call.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember about how long it was that you waited by the side of the road?
Not long. I can say probably 10 minutes.
Did you stay there? You were still by the side of the road when you made that phone call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you leave shortly after that phone call?
Yes, sir.
And the phone call you made was to Mr. Okafor's phone.
Yes, sir.
After you made that phone call, what happened?
After I made that phone call, I went back to the abandoned house to pick up Darnell.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. So
Yes, sir.
you go back to the abandoned house. Did somebody tell you to do that?
Yes, sir.
Who told you to do that?
Bessman.
Okay. When you did that, did you see the other cars again come back, or did you not see them again until you got to the abandoned house?
I did not see them come back, but I did see them when I got to the abandoned house.
So you did drive back to that abandoned house,
Yes, sir.
and when you got back there, you say those two cars were there.
Yes, sir.
So somehow they'd gotten back there without you seeing them somehow.
Yes, sir.
When you get back to the abandoned house, there's now all three cars back there again.
Yes,
is that
sir.
right? And what happens when you get back to the abandoned house?
Darnell jumps in my car. I pull off, take him down the road. I go back on the path that Bessman had showed me, take him down the road. Then,
So let me just ask you, so Darnell gets in your car,
yes, sir.
in the passenger seat,
Yes, sir.
and does somebody tell you to do this, or how does, you're told to what, drive him back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you do that?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember what road you took back? You go back the same way on Silver Star?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, does he get out?
Yes, sir.
Did he, how did you know where to drop him off?
He told me to just pull on the side of the road.
So he just tells you, stop here, I'm getting out?
Yes, sir.
And where do you think that was?
Between Pine Hills and Silver Star.
And he was on Silver Star?
Yes, sir.
So he just says at some point, okay, let me out here.
Yes, sir.
When you left, were the other two cars still there?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Okafor was still there?
Yes, sir.
And Nestle was still there? Was Okafor still there?
Yes,
At the
sir.
abandoned house? Was Nestle still there at the abandoned house?
Yes, sir.
Was Emmanuel still there at the abandoned house?
Yes, sir.
And the other two cars were still there at the abandoned house?
Yes, sir.
So you dropped Darnell off at some point,
Yes, sir.
and then what do you do?
And then I go back to Keithia's house.
When you get back to Keithia's house, did you see anybody outside?
Yes, sir.
Who did you see?
Bessman.
Bessman was outside the house still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was he with a car? Was he with Nestle at that point?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You don't recall seeing Nestle or Nestle's car at that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you pull into, with the Malibu to Keithia's house?
Yes, sir.
And then what do you guys do?
We go to sleep.
You go into Keithia's house and go to sleep?
Yes, sir.
The next day, now we're talking about September 10th.
Yes, sir.
I guess at some point, obviously, you woke up.
Yes, sir.
Were you with Mr. Okafor most of that day?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you recall going to his home confinement officer with him? His home confinement office near the jail?
Yes, sir.
And so you were with him when you did that?
Yes, sir.
And is that also in the same Malibu?
No, sir.
That was a different car?
Yes, sir.
What car you took for that?
We had took his truck.
Okay, is that like an SUV or something?
No, it was a Ford.
Okay, not important. In any event, you went with him to the home confinement office?
Yes, sir.
Did you wait in the car? Did you go upstairs?
I had waited in the truck.
Okay. So he went upstairs or into the office?
Yes, sir.
Came back out again?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, I guess, did you go back to Keithia's house?
Yes, sir.
Were you there when Mr. Okafor got arrested that night?
Yes, sir.
You were at Keithia's house?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Okafor was there as well?
Yes, sir.
And you remember the police coming to arrest him?
Yes, sir.
So the police eventually took him out of the house and I guess took him to jail or something, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, he had a home confinement monitor on, an electronic monitor.
Yes, sir.
Remember any kind of noise happening when Mr. Okafor was taken out of the house to be arrested?
Yes, sir.
What kind of noise was it?
A beeping noise. Really loud beeping noise.
I'm sorry, was there a ruling or? Okay, I'm sorry. So describe the noise when Mr. Okafor was taken out of the house.
It was a beeping noise. Just
Beep.
real loud beeping noise. Yes, sir.
Now, did the police want to talk to you?
Yes, sir.
And did you talk to the police?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them the truth right up front?
No, sir.
What did you tell them right up front?
A lot of lies.
Tell me the lies you told them.
Oh, wow.
I mean, did
Yes, sir.
And did you tell them the truth? Did you answer that truthfully, or did you lie?
I lied.
And what did you tell them? What was the lie that you told them?
He was home.
You told them that you and he were home all night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why did you lie? I mean, it's probably obvious, but tell us why you did that.
To protect him.
The lie was to protect him?
Yes, sir.
And did you stay with that lie for quite a while?
Yes, sir.
All right. At some point, did you get you said you got arrested?
Yes, sir.
Did you know why you got arrested? Did they tell you what it was for?
Which time? Because I had got arrested the first time because I lied, and then the second time was, I believe I was facing first degree murder, I believe. So, which time are you talking about?
You got arrested because of the lying, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And oh, here it is. Did you eventually go to start telling?
Yes, sir.
What's your testimony here today?
Yes, sir.
You were arrested and you were originally charged with murder.
Yes, sir.
And do you know why you were charged with murder?
No, sir.
Was it kind of for helping out for this? Did you have a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Your lawyer didn't explain to you what it was about?
About when I got arrested? Well, the beginning of it, I had a public defender, and I really didn't, they really didn't talk to me. But then down the line, yes, I did talk to my lawyer. And yes, he started.
Helping out for murder?
Say that again?
I'm sorry. Hang on just a minute. The last question he asked was not leading. Overruled is the last question. You may answer the last question, ma'am.
Right.
Somebody tell you it was for being a lookout for a murder that happened?
Yes, sir.
Kind of helping out.
Yes, sir.
Did you at some point plead guilty to some charges?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit Q for identification. So you take a look at this. You know what this is?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
My plea. The plea.
This is a plea agreement that you signed.
Yes, sir.
The lawyer signed it.
Yes, sir.
I signed it.
Yes, sir.
Does this spell out what the plea is? The arrangement?
Yes, sir. No.
Well, it says something about what's going to happen to you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time I have all kinds of evidence against you.
Any objection? Okay, it'll come in as the next numbered exhibit. Thank you.
I know it's all written out here, but
tell the truth.
Testify when requested and to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
And what's going to happen to you after everything's all said and done and you testify in your next trial? What then happens?
And I be sentenced.
When it be time for you to be sentenced?
Yes, sir.
And who's going to decide what that sentence would be?
The judge.
And so the judge is going to figure out what should happen to you after you testify.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what the, there's some understanding of what could happen?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what that is?
25 years.
Could be 25 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Could be a lot less.
Yes, sir.
And that's just going to be the judge's decision what to do.
Yes, sir.
You're obviously holding a plea on, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mosley, let me see the bench for just a second, if you would.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just ask one more question.
Okay.
We talked about Mr. Okafor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mosley. Mr. Altman, just come in. I don't need the court reporter. It's okay. I know. Oh, no. Folks, I'm sensitive to the fact that you have been sitting a long time, about an hour and 20 minutes. Mr. Mosley has cross. I'm going to give you all a break at this point for about 15 minutes, if you would. Please do not discuss the case. Please leave your pads on your chairs, and we'll see you in about 15, 20 minutes if you need it. Again, let Jeff know if you need more time. Thank you.
All right, very good.
Okay, folks, 15 to 20-minute break. You can just pick them up all the time here. I think you should be able to hear us. Yeah, I'll show you. Hold on. No, no. All right, folks, be in recess. We may be a bit longer than 15 minutes because she has to go downstairs for a second.